We'll go to Nick Schifrin from PBS virtually. Nick, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, John. Sorry I can't be there with you guys. Apologies in advance if my one-year-old interrupts my question. But two parts on Gaza. As you've been pointing out, there hasn't been movement on ceasefire, not that you guys haven't been working on it. Is there an assessment yet that Hamas might choose a leader who can even make a decision about ceasefire going forward, whether they can choose a leader in the near future? And then there's always been a second pathway in terms of getting to the day after for Gaza, which is working with Arab partners across the region and creating some kind of security package and as a transition to governance. Yeah. Can you guys make that progress regardless of what Hamas does? Is that possible? Thanks.
Well, on your second question, I mean, we obviously hope to. It's not by happenstance that the president mentioned day after planning and efforts in his statement last night. That is something that he has tasked Secretary Blinken to really take the lead on, and Secretary Blinken and his team are working on that very hard. We still believe that even while the war goes on, we've got to make sure we're ready for that day after, so that Gaza cannot be governed by Hamas, but can be governed by authorities, institutions that are answerable to the Palestinians who live there, and not to a terrorist organization. So we still very much believe in the possibilities there, and Secretary Blinken is working that hard, including with, and even especially with, our Arab partners. On your first question, it's, I think, just too soon for us to be able to know, Nick, how Hamas is going to, from a leadership perspective, how they're going to respond to this, who they might anoint as Sinwar's successor, and what that individual may be willing to pursue one way or the other, for good or for ill. It's just too soon for us to know, and I'm not aware of, I'm certainly not privy to any intelligence assessments at this early hour that would give us insight into that.
And sorry, just a quick follow-up. Is there a version of progress on a transitional security structure in Gaza that would be despite a lack of hostage release? Could you have progress on that without a deal to end the war and release the hostages?
I would refer you to the State Department for that one. I mean, they're really working this a lot harder than, well, they're working it very, very hard. I just don't have the insights on everything that they're doing. I would, but so it doesn't sound like I'm just brushing you off. As I said earlier, the killing of Sinwar underscores the keen sense of urgency that we still have and must have to get a ceasefire deal in place to get those hostages home. That is the president's primary concern right now, is making sure we get them home, that we can, get a surge of humanitarian assistance in, that we get that ceasefire in place. That's where his headspace is. Not that it's not on the day after. Of course, he's concerned about that as well, and he's following Secretary Blinken's efforts. But his main focus right now is on getting that ceasefire deal and getting the hostages home.